If not for the coronavirus, this weekend would have been one of celebration. The closing ceremonies of the Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, were set to take place on Sunday, but the Games have been postponed till next summer, and the delay, the first ever for the modern Olympics, has the athletes finding creative ways to push their limits and stay in top form. Nancy Chen has their story.
For years, precisely choreographed routines, perfected footwork, and thousands of miles logged are performed by athletes chasing the Olympic dream. A shot at greatness as the world watches, when life can change in a moment. A moment that will now have to wait because of coronavirus.
It's kind of like getting the rug swept out from underneath you.
Gymnast Lea Hernandez captured the world's attention and gold and silver medals at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Like other Olympic hopefuls, she now has to wait to qualify for the upcoming games.
Everybody was getting ready to peak, and then all of a sudden we're having to come back down again.
Rescheduling means another year of testing limits to their extremes, financially, mentally, and physically.
What do you like about trail running?
It's quiet.
Runner Kyle Murper set a world record as part of the U.S. distance medley relay team in 2015. After trying twice before, the 29-year-old had been hoping to make his first Olympic team and his final push.
It definitely felt deflated at first. Everything that I do every single day is kind of positioned in such a way that I could run my best when it counts the most. And then all of a sudden, that is stripped from you.
Like most of us, Olympic hopefuls had to adjust to a new normal. Even figuring out how and where to train became a challenge.
My living room doesn't really have the best beam.
My coffee table can be the beam, it can be the vault.
Instead, world champions lifted weights at a local park or in a garage next to holiday decorations. Teams practiced together by Zoom. The kids' playroom became the gym, with curious family pets as new training partners. Athletes in some sports fared better than others, requiring more contact.
It was probably 2.5 months with very, very limited training.
Fencer Darrell Homer won a silver medal in Rio in the men's saber match and is trying to make his third Olympic team.
Fencing is a sport that requires equipment, coaches, a fencing club to train in.
Training partners.
And
you're normally in a club of 30 to 40 people, and you have the more training partners, the better.
In the pandemic's early days, Homer honed his skills from his Harlem apartment.
You had mentioned doing footwork on your roof.
Yes.
Did you ever do that before all of this?
No, never. I would never have dreamed of doing that before this, no.
The added year will also mean less money for athletes no longer winning prize money from competitions or bonuses from sponsors.
That's been really tough for a lot of different people out there just trying to make ends meet. And I know a lot of their worries were like, okay, can I even hang in there for next year? Am I going to be able to financially hang on until the Olympics?
Dr. Lea Lagos is a clinical and sports psychologist who treats Olympic athletes.
Can these athletes deal with so much change?
Yes.
She calls burnout in the next year a major concern.
This is a devastating period for many of them, and while they're resilient by nature and nurture, many of them are going through a struggle.
There's a chance the Tokyo Olympics won't happen at all. If they aren't held in 2021, organizers say the games will be canceled, which has only happened during World Wars I and II.
If the Olympics don't happen, how long does it take an athlete to readjust and figure out their new purpose in life?
In terms of recovery, it's very individual. It can take years sometimes, in particular instances, to heal, and others it can be a few weeks or not at all. A lot of these athletes would be gutted.
Murper has already re-examined his goals,
God, it's cool.
rediscovering his love of the sport in the meantime. In his running career, Murper has competed almost exclusively in the 1,500-meter race, but is now using the extra year to train for longer distance races more suited to his age.
You no longer say that you are training for the Olympics, and yet you are still trying to make the 2021 Games. What do you mean by that?
I'm interested in pursuing a professional career beyond just professional running.
Mile 18!
I'm interested in, starting a family with my wife and, just maybe taking some vacations that we wouldn't have otherwise done, and just maybe not sacrificing every single day in the way that I have, maybe eating a little bit more ice cream.
For Homer, the pause in Olympic training gave him more time to devote to increasing diversity in fencing. He also participated in Black Lives Matter protests this summer.
As athletes, we're flying, especially fencing, like it's a global sport, so we're flying around every 3 weeks. You know, it's hard to kind of ground yourself in what's happening around people or around communities or in your community.
As for Hernandez, she says the extra year of training may ultimately help her. The gymnast had taken 2 years off after Rio.
I know that my comeback was really late. I knew that going into it, but this extra year gives me a lot of time to maybe get some upgrades and get a little more consistent. And I want to experience the Olympics again, but at 20, so I can really take in everything. Because at 16, ignorance is bliss.
The Olympic motto translates to faster, higher, stronger. And the athletes hoping to be crowned the best in the world are now developing a new kind of resilience and purpose.
Now, at 29, I've kind of redefined my idea of what it means to be successful. You know, no longer will I let the Olympic rings determine whether or not I've had the success that I've hoped. I think it's just the day-to-day of enjoying what you're doing and the pursuit of it.
For CBS This Morning Saturday, Nancy Chen, New York.
Interesting. Tariq also training now for Tokyo next year. No, former athlete,
yeah,
still an athlete.
I was saying during the, while the piece was airing, that I always wanted to cover the Olympics. I've not done that yet. You, on the other hand, have done it many times.
Done 4 or 5 games. Always one of the most fascinating things, the intersection of culture, economics, sports, so much to talk about. But it's, I mean, imagine working your entire life for that one moment, right? And you're weeks away from it, and then you're either delayed or can't do it. It's tough.